Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to when did Britain and America stop hating each other? Short animated documentary. This is a very short video, but today it seems like I'm just reacting to videos to do with history from the US and Britain. And I guess as the third reaction I'm doing today, it makes sense to watch this as the ending one, because in the first video, what did I react to for the first? What have I reacted to today? I've been away for like an hour. I went out and done something. I watched America's perspective from World War One, the history of Britain, and now this one. So I mean, yeah, I had a few questions I feel like relating to how sort of the US and the UK were enemies and they became like, I say best friends, I mean like allies and stuff. And I guess in terms of two countries that are so far apart, they're so similar in so many aspects or values, I guess. And I mean, yeah, we're gonna just check this out. Hopefully, going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see some more videos of mine. I'm posting one today. And if you want to suggest me some videos to see as well that maybe I can't post to YouTube and I can only post to my Patreon. So, I mean, yeah, the links are there for those interested. But let's check this out. It's a short one, like I've said, but yeah, I'm sure it's a good video. And let's just jump into
It would be an understatement to say that Britain and the USA's relationship got off to a rocky start. In 1812,
just a little bit.
Britain and America were at war, but just over a century later they were fighting shoulder to shoulder in World War One. Which obviously raises the question, when did Britain and America become allies? There had to be a point where both went from actively disliking each other to working alongside each other. Now, before continuing, it's important to note that even in the immediate aftermath of independence, America and Britain still had strong economic ties. This isn't to say that things were always great between the two, and there were some pretty major conflicts of interest in the years after the War of 1812 finished. The first, and perhaps the most obvious, was the Monroe Doctrine, established in 1823.
The Monroe Doctrine? Never heard of it. Okay, so it's going to be all things that I've not heard about then. The Monroe Doctrine.
This was where the United States, by threat of military intervention, declared an end to any new European colonial adventures in the Americas. And for Britain, this was potentially a problem because it had economic interest in South America. In reality, though, it wasn't too much of a problem at all, because in 1833 it landed a force on the Falkland Islands and America did nothing. In 1842, the US did warn Britain against interference in Hawaii, which Britain did heed because America's international power was certainly growing. And it was this fact that America was a rapidly growing great power whose interests could no longer be ignored, which would dominate Anglo-American relations for the following century. So the next major event which could have changed the Anglo-American dynamic was the American Civil War, which broke out in 1861. Britain had already abolished slavery at this point, and so you would think that it would have preferred the Union over the Confederacy. But you'd be wrong. Now, Britain had no great affection for the Confederacy in its slaveholding practices. Its preferential treatment was purely economic, mostly due to cotton imports. Britain did consider formally recognizing
Bro, when you think about it, money is just, I mean, it is. Money is the way the world goes. Your values will go out the window. As long as there's money involved, your values will go out the window no matter what. And in this situation, it shows it. But this is just, and everything, every part of life, that's how it is. You won't agree with something, but you get a little bit of cash and you're fine with it. It's fine now. Like, it's just wild, man.
In Anglo-American relations,
which is crazy because like money isn't real. It is real because it's the like how we function, and like the more money you have, the better off you are. But in reality, money isn't actually real. It just blows my mind. Like, it's not actually a real thing, but we've made it, and now it's the most important thing in life, I guess. Obviously, other than family and stuff, but it's the most important thing. 99% of humans will judge anything off of money, and I guess I can understand it. I mean, I'm the same. Money, the more money, the better off you are, but it's just crazy to
was
me.
severely harmed by what's called the Trent Affair. This was where the US government seized a ship with Confederate diplomats headed for Britain, which to Britain looked like the USA telling it who it could and could not speak to. In the end, cooler heads prevailed and Britain didn't get involved, although it did construct a very powerful warship, the CSS Alabama, for the Confederacy. And after the Civil War was over, Britain paid compensation to the United States. Thus, only 50 years away from World War I, Britain and America still didn't really care much for each other. So what changed this? Well, relations actually started to improve during Britain's border dispute with Venezuela in 1895. This developed into somewhat of a crisis, and the US intervened and arbitrated, siding mostly with Britain. For Britain, America had conducted itself in a well-mannered fashion and given Britain most of what it had wanted. And for America, by accepting American arbitration, Britain had yielded its right to influence South America. The other reason for Anglo-American rapprochement was simple: converging interests. America had emerged from its civil war a more centralised industrial power, and after its defeat of Spain in 1898, it possessed a global empire too. And for Britain, things were rapidly changing as well. Its empire and global position was being threatened by Russia and the newly formed Germany. Britain had long practiced a policy of isolationism with respect to the European powers, but since they too were industrialising, this had the potential to threaten Britain's position. Thus, her most natural ally seemed to be the United States, since it was half a world away and had its own sphere of influence, plus they spoke the same language and shared many values. It was at the turn of the 20th century under President Theodore Roosevelt that America and Britain really started to become friends, particularly with respect to one foreign policy stance. They didn't like Germany. This agreement allowed for Britain to...
And we've just learned about that in the previous video. Literally what we've just learned about. And like the US, it's interesting that like before the 20th century, they weren't really that close. And then just before it turned to the 20th century, they started realizing we've got the same sort of agreements and stuff. I guess language is a major thing though. Like I guess the US would probably be close with certain other countries, maybe more nearby, if there was more of a language similarity. But because the majority of the US, I guess at this point especially, was English speaking, it just made it a lot easier, I guess. But yeah, it's just weird, like, because they're so far from each other. I always wondered, like, why is this the
move
case?
its fleet away from its Caribbean colonies back to Britain to defend itself from Germany, while security in the Caribbean would fall to the US. After the First World War broke out, Germany's actions such as U-boat attacks on American shipping and the Zimmermann telegram, combined with the fact that if Britain and France lost the war, they wouldn't be able to pay their American loans back, assured US intervention on their side. And from that point onwards, both the US and UK were largely in the same camps, barring a couple of mishaps here and there. I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you.
Oh, it was quick. That was really quick. Wait, is there another one related to this on this channel? Wait, what's the most viewed video from this channel? No, there's nothing. I do actually want to know this one, but that's not really for this video. I guess that's it then. The 10-minute history, the early British Empire. Yeah, I can't really watch it now. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. I mean, it was a very short video, but I saw it pop up. And I thought it sort of made sense to watch it, especially for me as I've today just watched or reacted to a lot of history-based stuff. So yeah, that's this reaction. Hopefully you're going to enjoy, or hopefully you went on to enjoy. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.